Hello and welcome to this video on Morten's Corner. Today's video is going to be about advanced editing and multi-language templating. So in the scope of today, we'll be talking about restricted versus full editing. We'll be talking about the connector text and the construction of the step text. Then we'll be talking about the multi-language editing and the connector text. Then we'll be talking about main and sub-languages. And we'll be talking about the language template translation and word template with metadata. And then finally, we'll be looking a little bit about at localization as well. So to start us off, let's go ahead and look at restricted versus full editing. So this is a common mistake that I often see. There's a lot of confusion about this. Frankly, it's not described that well, so let's try to cover it here. I'm going to open up a recording here. I've made one called Create a Lead. And come ahead. So if I were to edit something, let's see here. I have a field called click on the text field topic. So let me go ahead and edit that. And now, if I want to edit it, I click on target over for editing. Then I can change the text so it's like click on the text field topic. I can then change the destination if I want to. I could say click on the text field topic with a lowercase t if I wanted to. So while this is fine, it's still referring to it as a standard word. So if I switch to French, I'm just gonna have a look. It's still gonna call it topic, right? So that's not gonna be translated. So what I typically see people do is that they'll go, I wanna change the word, the way it's written, and I can't do that here. I can't change anything else but the word, the destination value. So what they'll do is they'll go full editing. It looks like this now. So what they'll do is that they'll say, instead of say click on the text field topic, we'll say we don't want it to say text, so they're just gonna remove that. Click on the field topic or click on topic. Some people like that. So let's say we say that, click on topic. Now what happens is that I've edited this step. So topic has now become part of the sentence. The problem here is that when you switch to French, then it will say click on topic. So when I run the translation, it will say click sur and then whatever topic is in French, it's going to actually translate the word. And that is a problem in my case, because if I don't replay, now I've replayed this, but if I hadn't replayed it, it would still refer to the English word, to the French word of topic, but the screenshot then shows the English one. So the learner will be confused because it will say click on topic and they're looking around the screen. I don't see topic anywhere. Because topic in French, that word does not match my English UI. So what you want to do instead when you translate, let's just reset this again. You can always, if you mess it up, you can always come back here and say restricted, discard, and then we'll go back to the default. Save changes and we start over, okay? So let's edit it again. I'll go full editing. So let's say I wanted to say click on topic. So what I'll do instead is I'll just delete this and I'll find the tags down here. These are all the values that were found by ClickLearn. You can see them all here. There's a tooltip. When you hover over the field, it will say select to enter data. And then we have, of course, the field name, which is topic, right? If you click up here, you can get a brief overview of all of them. So here we have like the form and like the entity we're on and stuff like that. So everything is registered too, right? But the field name is topic, and that you can see is %2. So you can either type %2 or you can just click on this. You get the tag in here. Now, I want to make sure that's bold, of course, and then save. Now it's going to say click on topic. And when I translate it to French, it's also going to say click on topic because it's now locked to the text value name, right? So in that sense, it's super nice like that. So just kind of to explain to you how it works when you change this stuff. So you want to be working with the tags, unless you're doing a full localized translation and a replay as well in French, right? So let's talk a little bit about the connector text and the way the sentences are constructed by ClickLearn, because you can also change that. So you saw me saying I wanted to say click on topic instead of whatever we had before. Let me just reset that. Click on the text field topic. Some people think that's too long. Personally, I think it's nice because it is a text field. I know what type of element to click on the screen, and now I know the name, which is topic, right? So what you'll do, come in here and click on create modify template item. This will then take you to the ClickLearn templating system. The cool thing about the templating system is that anything you change here will then affect all recordings that are using that template. And you can of course have multiple templates in your ClickLearn projects, and you can apply different templates to different items in your structure so that your final portal might look differently or might have different phrasing or whatever you want, really. You can do many things with this. So we have the way the sentence is made is you have the mouse action, which is click on. Then we have the type of item. And here I can see in CRM, I have a field. It's called a text field. And when I click on the text field function in CRM, it's going to construct a sentence called the text field, and then %2, which you remember what's the text value of topic. And here you can also see how it's constructed in French. It would say clique sur le champ de texte, and then %2, which is then the French word for topic, or the English one if I choose to keep my English UI but just have the French explanations, right? That's also possible. If I did that, then in the video, it would read everything in French, apart from this, the references to the screenshots, for example, right? Because if the screenshot says topic, then you shouldn't read a French word for topic, because then people wouldn't know what to look for. So that's kind of how that works.
This could also be click on, right click on, double click on, move the mouse to.
I could of course change this. So if I remove this completely, I could do that. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. Let's see what happens now. So now we have the mouse action and the field value. I guess you can probably guess what's going to happen. Now I'm going to close this. It should say click on topic. That's exactly what it says, because we modified the value. So now you'll probably see that anywhere there is a text field, if I can find one more, I can actually not find one more, but if I open up a completely different recording, it would have changed the text field click values for that one too. It would have changed everything. So yeah, you can also take it one level further. So let's say you've done your full template, you've adjusted all the text like you want it. You can then choose to promote your template down here. When you promote it, you can see that this item has changed, and it will tell you it affects all other projects, right? So when I promote a standard template, then that will then be my default template for all new projects in ClickLearn. So be careful when you do that, because you're gonna affect everything. You can also just choose to import this template. When I'm done with this, I can choose to import it into another project and override the current changes in that project. So I'm just going to update it. The way you can see it, if it's changed, it has a little blue dot. So you can see that something in this group has changed. I can already see up here that this is the blue dot. If there was a very long list, I might want to expand it to see. Here it is. I can always just right click and select delete. This will restore the default values. Click OK. And then you'll see it says the text field again. Wonderful. So that's kind of how the things are constructed here. Let me just show you something else. Let's talk a little bit about main and sub languages, because we haven't, there is a lot of confusion about that, especially from what we see people from the UK, which use English GP, and people from Canada using Canadian French, or people using like Brazilian Portuguese or Mexican Spanish and stuff like that. So the way we've chosen to do it in ClickLearn, let me go ahead and add some languages, then you'll see what I mean. Let's add Canadian French. Here, right? French Canada. And let's add GB, English. Here we go. Let's add those two. And we'll just save changes. So what you'll see now is that when I open my recording again, we actually don't have to go through the recording. We can go through here, show you another way. Click on language settings where we were, and just click on language template editor. Now you'll see. The smart thing about going through the recording is that I'll actually get to the correct connector that I was using, modify those connector strings. So when I go through here, I actually have to find it, right? So I know it's CE. I'll go here. And we can find the field, and then we can find something else like a lookup field or whatever. That's fine. So what you'll see now is that English GB does not have any connector text. So when English GB does not have a connector text, it's gonna fall back to our default language, which is English US. So I could add all the 30 or 50 different English languages in here, but they will still fall back to the English US if this is not filled out. So if I type something in English GB here, that is then what will be used. If I were to create a new project which only had English GB as the language, nothing else, actually all the connector text would be empty. You wouldn't see anything, and it's a little bit confusing like that. So I'd probably recommend that you at least add the main language for the project that you're using, right? So for English is English US. For French, it's French. So that you can see like what's actually being used. You can always, in ClickLearn, you can always click up here and say translate all. If you choose to do this, I would probably recommend that you have someone check if it's a correct translation, right? So now you'll see if it's translated English US and it's overwritten all the other languages. So you see now it says the lookup here in English GB, right? There aren't really any places in ClickLearn, for our connector text at least, where there is any word that should have been spelled different in English GB. We don't really have those words in our template. You will of course find them in your system, especially in finance and operations, for example. Like the whole user interface is just completely different in English GB as opposed to English US. They really did a magnificent job there translating everything into the terminology used in Britain. So that's quite impressive. But for the ClickLearn connector text, we don't really have any difference, so we don't use them. But yeah, it's just nice to know. So if I were to change the English GB connector text, I can do it in here, right? Or I can just change the English US and let GB fall back to it. That's probably the easiest way, because then you have an actual populated baseline instead of an empty one. So, all right. And of course, like I said before, if you click on the group itself, you can always get a nice overview up here of what's missing. I can even do the translate all up here. There we go. So now they're all populated. And if you look here, I'm just comparing these two. There are no differences. It's the same, which is good. So if you prefer just to have English GB as your main language and nothing else, then you can do it like this. But just know that if we update our connector, and let's say that Microsoft, they add something new to Dynamics and to CRM, sorry. And then we go ahead and add connector support for that, which then creates perhaps some new sub inputs here on the field, or a whole new group like down here with some new stuff. Then your English GB might not be populated. So then you would need the English US again in order to fill it out, right? So that's kind of how it works. For example, this is something custom that I've added, where you select any row on a grid cell, a specific type of grid cell somewhere. And you can see that there is actually no connector text for the other languages. So in this case, if I were to switch to French, there would be nothing there. So I'd have to translate it first, and there we go. Now that's fixed. So you can do that. And you might ask me, Morten, why don't you have just everything populated? Well, let me show you why not. All right, let me just show you. So let's go back to the language list here, add new language. If we had to connect the text for all of the languages, auto-translated and added to the application, I don't know if you can imagine how much extra text that would be and how massive the application would be. So we just don't have that. We just don't have all that. But you can always translate it yourself, and you can always write your own if you prefer. So, for the example of French being French explanations, and then on the English UI, let me just show you what that means. So when I come on here on French, click on the three dots, and then click on the globe, it says Set UI Language. Here I can then choose to have the English screenshots. It will then show me the English screenshots for the French explanations, which is really nice way to like show some kind of combination. Let's say I have a business system where I don't have a French UI, but I still have French users, and I want to somehow cater to them because, you know, maybe their English is not super great, or the explanations is just easier in French because maybe I'm using a lot of text. You know, it's not just click on, do this, do that. Maybe I have tons of concept blocks explaining them what to do and things, and I want that in French just to be sure they understand. Then you could do that. So you would just click here, and you'll see there's a little globe, which indicates that it's using another language UI, okay? Let's save the changes up here. And let's go have a look at what happens to the recording. So now you can see that it's using the English screenshot for French. So click sur le bouton new, and you can see it has new up here, and it's English, Sales Accelerator, Dashboard, everything English, right? And like I said before, the way the video reads it, you'll actually hear it say this in French, and then an English voice will pronounce the English word, of course, because otherwise it sounds a little bit funny. That's actually another byproduct of you, if you overwrite this. So I could open for editing, sorry. So if you overwrite this with full editing, it's actually gonna think that the word you have here is an English word, and it's gonna try to read it in that language, which sounds really funny. So you don't want that. You always wanna use the system reference to ensure that it's reading the correct word depending on your language selection and your UI language selection as well, right? So let me just go back and set the UI language correctly, because we're gonna need that in a sec. So the next thing I want to talk about is I'd like to discuss a little bit about templates and metadata when you run multiple languages. So when you come down to your project settings and you click on Manage Metadata, then you can go ahead and click on the three dots, then you add metadata, and you basically add the ones that you need, right? I've added description and document, as you can see here. Here is document, and here is description. So in my recording, what I've done in these sales ones at least, I've come in here and click on metadata properties. So what I've done here is that I've filled out my alternative title. The alt title gives you 72 characters to play with instead of just 32, as opposed to using just the file name. And you can of course use illegal characters here. So you can use ampersand and exclamation marks and all the stuff that you cannot normally use in a file name, you can use here. In the document, you can add stuff like author, editor, the revision number, and stuff like that, right?
Metadata is language dependent. Make sure you translate if needed.
So what I've done is that I've readied a Word document, and I have that here. This is our standard template. Up here I've added the metadata title. Then I have added process, author, editor, revision number, and revision dates. Okay. Now, then I have some placeholders over here that explains that this is the process and this is the click on author and so forth. But this stuff, of course, in my French template, I want it to the process to be the French word and the author to be the French word for this, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and translate this to French real quick. Let's go ahead and do that. Basically, just to quickly sum up the template here, this is a cover page where you have the title, then you have some metadata about, you know, the revision date and all this stuff, who wrote it, which process it's part of, and all that. And then you have your table of content on this page, and then your content starts down here. That's basically how it works. You can see it here. So after the table of content, there's a page break. After the cover page, there's a page break. So that's how it works. If you want to learn more about metadata, I will leave a link to a video up here, which you can click. So that will tell you all about that. Now, translating this to French, I'm going to go ahead and make a French version. So let's save as, and let's just call it FR for French. And let's go ahead and do the translation. So in Bing, I can just put in what I just copied, and then we will put this stuff in here. So process, it's going to be a little bit slow. Right, and then click on author. That'll be this guy here. Order. Pardon any of you French speakers out there if I'm butchering any words and if these are all wrong, but as with all things, you should of course have someone who knows what they're doing in terms of the language, just proofread everything for you, especially when you do something as massive as a template, right? Because that's a pretty big thing because it affects all your content. So of course you want to have someone prove it. And revision date. Cool. Now I have a French template, which is awesome. Let's save that. Go. This doesn't matter. This is a placeholder text. This will not be written anywhere, so you don't have to worry about that. Then we have content. I need to translate that. I didn't do that. Okay. I'll take your word for it. We'll paste that. All right. Save. Okay. So let's go ahead and put those in ClickLearn. I will go settings, template. Then I will go to Word down here. Click on theme, and then go ahead and add the template. Yeah, this one. Cool. So now we have the English template. Then there are two ways to do this. So what I need to do now is to make a French template here. So I'll come into template and say add new configuration. And I'll base it on this. And we're just going to change the word, right? So we're not really changing anything else. I'm just going to call it project FR. There we go. Save changes. So now it's selected that. Let's go to Word and let's add our French word template. And of course, the same goes for PowerPoint. It's the same concept, right? So you could have two different templates for PowerPoint if you wanted to. So there we go. Now the French one is using French and the English one is using English. Let's go confirm. Yeah. All right, perfect. Let's go save. So now we go to our structure. So here I've built a structure, right? So in French, if I select French, I can see that we need to translate this because this is not in French yet, but that's fine. So coming into structure editor, you can see that this is where I defined all our base content and you know, contact emails and all our different work instructions, stuff like that. And you can see that it needs translation. We'll do that in a bit. So what I'll do is that I'll just expand everything. And in here you can see I've selected all. go ahead and click on copy, click down here, and then I'll click paste. Now, we just have to be a little bit careful. There we go. All right, so this is the first part, this is the second part. All right, so this part up here is gonna be our English one, okay? So I'll select everything and say this is only English, and in advanced I'll say this needs to use our English template, okay? Let me go ahead and save. All right, let's go ahead and expand everything again. And let's come down to the French part. Let's see, we know it starts with a heading, so we just gotta find that. Here we go. So this should be our French. So this part is for French. Right now I'm in English, as you can see up here. That's why it's grayed out, right? It's not gonna be part of that, but it doesn't really matter. We don't need to switch. We know what we're doing, I hope. Switching to French for this part. So I'm gonna go ahead and save. So now I have two base things available, right? Switching to French, you can see that all this is now what we need. So here. All right. So now the English part is grayed out and the French part is highlighted. And just to double check, go to advanced. We'll see it using French. If we could switch to English, come up here, click on something, click on advanced. We should see that it's using the English one. Perfect. So now we've set apart the two templates, and I can of course keep building onto the template and it will automatically affect all the content in my portal, right? So that's how you can work with multiple templates. Another way to work with the two language templates is just to use the localization and the assets to set up the French one, right? So now I only have our standard layout here with both English and French, of course. They're both selected now. And the template, I'm just using my default, right? What I can then do is I can come over here to localization, and then go to French, go to assets, and then I will go ahead and modify this one. So company template English, I wanted to use the French one, okay? Let's go ahead and edit it. So I'll say open. And here I will say replace with the French one. Let's see, there we go. And save. And save. So this basically means whenever you produce something that's using this template in French, then it will use the French one instead of the English one, right? Let's go test it out. I'll go here, recordings, and let's go ahead and produce the whole thing. We'll come here and we'll say reproduce and go. And we'll just give it a sec. So the publishing is complete. Let's go ahead and look at the result. So I will click on view, the English UL here. So here's the English one, and let's have a look at French. Here's the French one. Looks exactly the same layout. Now we have contacteur list HR or resource humain. Yeah, it's a little bit different in French, right? So it's all good. Everything is now French. If we go to sales, we can go to lead management, and then we have create a lead. Then we have, the French version, right? You can see everything is in French. Click sur le bouton nouveau, and you can see that is indeed what it says on the screenshot. This is all French to me. So if we look at Word or PDF, let's do that because it opens in the browser, right? If we open a PDF, you can see that it's now using the French template. And you can see up here is using the title tag we had. And here we have, of course, the metadata, right? So I need to push this down a little bit for my final template for sure. But this is how it looks now. Here we have the table of content. You can see that it's written in French as well. And yeah, everything is just translated, right? So super nice. And of course, if we pop on back to English, so we can all follow, we can go to create disqualifying opportunity instead. And here we see everything English. Let's go look at PDF. Here we have then the English terms, of course, for the placeholders. And then everything in English, right? With the English screenshots. So that's how it is. This is definitely the quickest way of the two that's shown. But of course, if you need, for one reason or another, to specify something else than just a Word document for that template, like if you have a different design layout of your template in general, different crops in the screenshot, different colors, another logo, all this kind of stuff, then you will of course need to use the other method where you make a duplication of the structure and then make one set available in English, one set in French, and then you set what template is being used for what, right? So it's for sure, it's a little bit more cumbersome to get through, but if you need it, that's how you need to do it. So yeah, cool. Now let's go ahead and do two things. Let's do the translation in the localization here, and then let's have a look at the final Word document when it's done, when I produce one, okay, in both English and French. So clicking on localization now, I will run the analyzer first. I'll always do that. And then I can see that 5 recording, 12 assets, 2 replays, and 77 structure items are missing translation. Cool. I will just click on start translating here. And it takes a little bit of time, depending on the size of your content, right? So I'm just going to click on auto translate. You can see that this is not translated yet. I'm going to go click here. And then you can see these are all my 40 steps. I'll click translate. Super nice. Now this one is done. Cool. I'll go ahead and save that. Okay, in our assets over here, we have some missing. Now, I don't want to have any assets that are French. So I'm just gonna ignore it, okay? And we can say use same as source. That's fine. The company logo is the same. And the Danish flag is not different in France, I'll tell you that much. And we have some more stuff. It's just all the assets that were ever used in the template here. So just fixing that up.
If you have screenshots in your work instructions of the user interface, you may want to take that screenshot in the localized language too, and use the localization feature here in Assets to define it.
I believe I did. Yeah, look. So here is a PDF, right? So company can system systems. That's actually I actually translated that into French. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose that it should be going for the French one. Here we go. Now, and this one you can ignore because we're not using that. And then the English template, you can also tell it to use the French if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave this as default for now. Come into the structure. And we'll just click on auto translate. Please go ahead. All right. There we go, as easy as that. So now it's all in French. And again, you may want to have someone look it over before you throw it out. But I mean, to me, this looks pretty good. My French is not super strong, but it looks all right. Save it. And then run your answer again. Then we have 2 replays missing. And as far as I remember, some of the stuff in here cannot be replayed because it's a custom system. And let's go ahead and find those, what those are. Yeah, so yeah, I replayed some of them. These ones cannot be replayed. This is a custom system I made myself. And I will ignore it, don't need it. And then hire a new employee. Parts of this instruction is not available in French. Like half of the UI is not available in French, so it's kind of doesn't make sense to have it in French when like it's gonna be half English, half French. So yeah, that's how you work with multiple languages in ClickLearn. So yeah, thank you for watching this video on advanced editing and multi-language templating. I hope you found it helpful. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them on the community. And yeah, you have a wonderful day. Thank you.